Ladies and gentlemen, hello to each and every one of you. I would like to start by wishing a very happy Ramadan to all the faithful Muslims, wherever you may be. So, thank you once again for being here on La Tribune d'éveil des consciences, your much-loved platform. That's the way it is. One of the international news highlights, particularly the sub-regional news. The AES has just taken another step forward. The giant steps that nations, the great nations we know today as developed nations, have taken, the AES has just followed in their footsteps. So, this step taken concerns the establishment of a specific tax that is truly intended to help the AES emerge from its den, even if just a little. And alongside this tax that has been introduced, we have Niger's withdrawal from an armed agreement with Chad regarding the protection of Lake Chad. And so, in the context of this video conference, dear ladies and gentlemen, these are the two realities we are going to discuss. But before continuing, I ask you to share the video conference, share it as much as possible. Give it a lot of likes especially. There you go. Always remember to put our political slogan in the comments. You always leave a comment. Daring is already winning. So, we begin first with the information about the withdrawal from the multinational joint force. Niger is withdrawing from the multinational joint anti-jihadist force around Lake Chad. The announcement was made yesterday, Saturday, March 29th, 2025, but without providing further details. So, the operation, which was previously conducted under the aegis of the CART sector of the multinational joint force MNJTF, has just changed its name. From now on, the operation is called Nalevat Ndoli. This is what the Nigerian army indicated in its bulletin on Saturday. And so, as announced, this name change or this change in the designation of this joint force, this multinational joint force, stems from Niger's withdrawal from the MNJTF. So then, here are the details that were provided. But other significant information was not given. What should be noted is that Niamey has always been considered one of the main pillars of the MNJTF, meaning the multinational joint force, anti-jihadist around Lake Chad. And so, Niamey had suspended its participation in this force in January 2025, so at the beginning of this year. According to the Institute for Security Studies, ISS, which reports that it was since January that Niamey had suspended its participation. For the moment, no official announcement has been made, however. At the time when Niamey suspended its participation in January, no official announcement was made. So far, we really do not know the reasons that are driving Niamey to withdraw. Whatever happens, what should be noted is that today the AES is in a paradigm of its reorganization. The AES can continue to remain in partnership with certain states, but when there are certain sectors that do not suit them, they have the right to withdraw, to see how to reorganize in order to refine all this for the benefit of their population. That is the first aspect. The second aspect that draws our attention here in the context of this video conference is this new tax introduced by the AES states, but which is causing a lot of discontent, which is generating a lot of discussion. The puppets of colonial imperialism are not short of arguments to discredit and condemn this new reform, which, at least, moreover, it is one of the first rare economic reforms of the AES states. Those who support the continuity of Western imperialism see this as a very bad thing. Those who are for the development of the sovereignty of African states see it as a very good decision. But what is it about concretely? Please share the video conference with me. Share it as much as possible. Yes, no, share as much as you can. There you go. So, according to official information, Marseille, the AES, is introducing a new tax on imports to finance its regional integration. So, the AES is introducing a new customs tax on imports. In other words, all products entering its territory. You know that the AES is the desert? The AES, yes, there are some mining and mineral resources, but these countries need money, enough money. So what needs to be done is to capitalize on taxes. We need to capitalize on customs imports. We need to impose taxes so that the money coming in can serve all the states. You know that the AES has established bodies, management of the Confederation. And these management bodies of the Confederation were not planned within the very framework of the states concerned before we witnessed the formation of the Confederation. Today, these bodies and these instances that have just been added need an operating budget. So, where should this money come from? Therefore, we must fight. We must ensure that resources are drawn internally. And that is why, according to the information we receive, it involves a customs duty of 0.5% on imports coming from non-member countries of their organization. So, any country that is not a member of the AES, when this country wants to import a product into the AES territory, to sell, for example, this country, its tax is increased by 0.5%. It's not even 1%, but 0.5%. So, this money, as mentioned, is indeed to allow the member states of the Confederation to finance their integration. So everything can be revised by decision of the College of Heads of State of the Confederation. They can review it upwards just as they can review it downwards. But the most important thing is that the tax is already introduced. The resources generated will be used to finance the functioning of the bodies, the projects and programs of the AES, or any other expenses deemed necessary. This is what the document specifies, so it's very clear. Niger has its operating budget, Burkina has its operating budget, Mali has its operating budget. But above these three states there is the AES. The AES which has its own bodies. So, how will the bodies of the AES function if these bodies do not have a budget? However, the budget for these bodies is not included in the budget of each state. Therefore, it is necessary to create revenue streams that will allow to fund the budget of these AES bodies. This is the importance attached to the introduction of this new customs tax. This will allow the AES bodies to function properly. Since we are faced with two things, we have the AES states and we have the AES which is up there. The AES states function properly, naturally, but the AES bodies do not have a budget. Therefore, it is necessary to create a budget for them. It is necessary to create sources of funding for their budget. Here is the whole truth, and it is stated in the document. Unfortunately, this is what makes people grind their teeth, and the enemies of Africa, of sovereignties, are going on with their commentary and saying whatever they please. Therefore, goods in transit, aid, donations, and non-repayable grants are not affected by the decision. All goods in transit, donations, and grants are not affected. This levy is not an additional charge. There you go. And here is what the minister specifies. He says that there was a community levy, ECOWAS. The minister specifies that there was an ECOWAS community levy that was at the same rate and applied to the same base. So, then, this is not a new levy. It's a continuous levy, but this time, if previously the money went to ECOWAS, this time the money goes back to AES. So here it is, ladies, young ladies, gentlemen, the headline news. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I will be back shortly with more news. This was the voice of your one and only Samurai.